Genesis 1, we read that the God of a billion galaxies decided to assign all of humanity this title of image bearer. The title spoke to both their identity as children of God and their purpose to represent God in everything they would do. This was such a mind-blowing idea for the first readers who had not seen themselves as the children of God or his representatives in the world. That identity and that purpose was reserved for the kings and queens of the day. Now, their two biggest questions of identity and purpose were being answered right here, and it changed everything. But what did it look like for them to live it out? What were they to do to live out this identity and purpose? Well, let's go back to the garden story. In Genesis 2, verse 5, we're told that something was missing in this new world. There was no water, no trees, and no one to take care of these resources and cultivate them. So God creates the raw materials. And then in verse 15, God places in the garden the Adam, or the human, God's representative, and gives them a specific task: to cultivate and care for this corner of the land in the region of Eden. Surprisingly, we find that God stops creating in this moment and he rests, then giving his humans the sacred commission to care for and cultivate all that he had created on his behalf. They had access to all of the resources, the raw materials, and are left to go do something with it. So there's water, but no irrigation channels. Trees, but no homes. Sun, but no means to store its energy. And language, but no poetry or song. Think about it. God's image bearers found themselves in the world as it was meant to be, but not as it was meant to remain. They were to build, create, cultivate. This was their God-given mandate. So what was humanity created to do? They were created to work. Work is humanity's divine, sacred, and holy task as God's children representing him in the world. Tim Keller describes our task this way: as rearranging the raw materials of God's creation in such a way that it helps the world thrive and flourish. In other words, it's following in the pattern set out by our Creator and fashioning the good world that God intended. We can only imagine what this might have meant for these first humans in the garden, naming the animals, cultivating the soil, planting fruit trees. They were to uncover and steward the natural resources hidden in the ground. They were to build society, families, and so much more. So, how is your work cultivating God's world? Are you a teacher taking ideas, concepts, and information and cultivating lessons that shape minds? Are you a farmer taking grain and seed and fertilizer to sow a crop and feed a society? Or are you an artist using paint, fabric, or music to beautify and uplift hearts? Take time to reflect on your life. As you organize, quantify, engineer, facilitate, raise children, whatever you do, can your work reveal a small part of God's kingdom to a world so desperately in need of it? Yes, it can. It was God's plan from the very beginning for you to image your Creator and the world as it was meant to be in the everyday moments and everyday spheres of your daily life. This is what God created you to do.